Right, so I'm back in the workshop today and time to get on with the engine. I've got everything set up, ready to go. Got my video from Matt on how to do motorcycle repairs to make life a lot easier. I think it's about 5 hours in total, so I'll take my time with it. Been to get the seals today, so we've got that sorted. And the gasket set's here, so I'm going to slowly work through it methodically, make sure I do everything correct, get it all back together. I think it's probably going to take me a couple of days to do it, seeing as I haven't done one of these before. I don't want to rush it, but I'll show you guys a sort of stop motion as I do it and go along through the processes, and maybe explain a little bit more at the end of the video. Okay, so I've managed to get the bottom end back together for the bike, which is good. Took a little bit of time, and I was obviously following a video by Matthew at How To Motorcycle Repairs. Made my life so much easier. There are a few differences between the CB500 engine being a little bit earlier than a 550, but I managed to work through those just looking at my videos of me taking it to pieces. Pretty happy with the gearbox going through all the gears. It's all sealed up nicely. So now I will look at getting the clutch back on the engine and get the top end rebuilt and put on. Have to get the cases from Mark at High Caliber Coatings, so those will be a couple of weeks probably before I get those back and get those done. But looking good so far with the engine. Let's hope she runs. So that's the bottom end of the engine back together. It was a little bit more complicated than I expected, but working through the video from Matthew at How To Motorcycle Repairs made it a lot easier. A few things I didn't know, so obviously it was really good that he'd gone through that. A couple of bits I'd forgotten from taking its pieces. So now the bottom end's back together, I can finally use the head gasket that was such a problem to get. In hindsight, if I was to do this bike again, I would definitely look for something that's more stock, just makes the parts more available, makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to get the head back on the bike and the rocker cover back on, and then I'll have to wait till I get the other parts from Market High Caliber Coatings. Right, so I'm back in the workshop today to finish the engine. I got most of the way last week, got the barrel on, head on, but I then realised with the copper head gasket I was going to need some gasket sealer, which was recommended by the manufacturer, so I had to order that and wait for that. So I'm going to get that on and timed up today. That'll be ready, all the bolts in, etc. Then all I've got to do is get the cases from Market High Caliber Coatings. He's obviously done the clutch case. This is just another one I had spare. All the other cases are going to be done in sort of semi-gloss black to contrast against the engine. So I'm looking forward to getting that done. Once that's done and built on the bench, I've still got the oil pump doing a couple of little bits, so I'll get that done today. And when this is finished, we'll go on to doing the frame. So that's currently sat in a high build primer at work, thanks to Chris at Leisurecraft Coatings for chucking some paint on that for me. I'll be getting on to finishing that probably next weekend. And then it looks like we need to get obviously the wheels from Central and the suspension from the guys at Fast Tech, so I'm on the case and asking how long that's going to be. And then when that starts to come through, we can start putting the frame together, and it all starts to sort of slowly look like a bike from there. But let's have a quick look at the engine close up. So obviously ignore this casing. This is just one that I had spare in a box upstairs. But as you can see, it's all nicely coated by Mark and looks lovely in black. It was good fun to rebuild it and sort of see the process myself. Having never done it before to this extent, I took my time with it. I'm sure I could do another one a lot quicker now, but obviously I'm apprehensive to get it in the frame and make sure it runs. I have every faith in my work, but there is still that niggly little thing that something might go wrong, but only time will tell on that one. Little look at the other stuff I've been up to. While the charity bike's been going on, there has been a few sort of flat spots where I haven't had parts to do any work. So I did do the little video on the Bandit, which is currently sat there. Obviously I need to get that ready for July as well, so I have been doing a few little bits and pieces, but I'm going to have to do a sort of more in-length video about that later. My bike is currently sat looking a bit sorry for itself as I need to do some wiring issues. I'll be getting onto that hopefully over the next couple of weeks once we get a bit further with the charity bike. And then the little CB500 sat there, pretty much ready to go now. I can ride it, just a few little bits to do, a couple of bits on my list to sort of snag, and then it's ready to go for the summer. But obviously the charity bike takes most of my time at the moment. So here's where you use the gasket sealer. I don't know if you're able to see it on these cameras yet. So there's a few little imperfections in the mating surface for the barrel and the head. So by using this sealer, it'll basically fill those voids and help it all go together nicely. Obviously we're using a solid copper gasket rather than your multi-layered steel. So that's another reason for using it. It's not quite as sort of malleable and doesn't move as much when you tighten down, so the sealer will help. But it does mean if I do have to take it apart, I can reuse the gasket, which is always a bonus. But let's not think like that, it's going to work.